Imposter syndrome. Have you heard about it before? Maybe you haven't, maybe you have. It doesn't matter. In this video, you will learn how to recognize it, what it is, imposter syndrome, and the most useful part, how to cope with it. I'm Gabriela KNOWS, licensed psychologist, and I help expat women to live a fulfilled and happy life wherever they are, wherever they're heading. And I provide online counseling, and you can find me in www.gabriela-encina.com. So, are you ready for this video? Let's go! You have something to say in gatherings and meetings, but you refrain of saying something because you have fear that it's not going to be valuable enough. You assume that others in specific areas or in general areas are more capable and more competent and more professional than you. You procrastinate out of fear or uncertainty. Or maybe you are inclined to compare yourself to others and their achievements, and that triggers frustration and sadness. If those examples resonated, you may probably experiencing imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is a thought or a feeling, persistent and damaging, that tells you that you are not good enough, that you are a fraud, that you are not capable enough, and that you are not worth of something you do or something you want to do. This thought comes from an abstract idea that they can be friends, family, colleagues, a professor, a partner, etc., that they are going to see that you are a fraud, that you are not skilled enough, etc., etc. The fear that you will be exposed and that everything that you have achieved and all your gains and success are because of luck, because of a mistake, or maybe a bug in the matrix, I don't know, something like that, but it is not yours. That's the fear, and that's the uncertainty, and it's very, very damaging. This thought or feeling yourself as a fraud or as not good enough or not worth it, it is mainly experienced by high achievers and perfectionists. And this is very important to realize, because the more these people have the facts for them, I mean, they can prove with hard facts that they are indeed capable and worth it and not a fraud. They have all the equipment to prove it, and still the fear of feeling exposed or being discovered is very, very real, and it's there. So this is imposter syndrome. That is what it is, and you can recognize it with the examples that I gave you. But hey, the most important part, how can we cope with imposter syndrome? I have for you 5 and 1 bonus tips or suggestions on how to cope with it, okay? Let's begin. Number 1, recognize it as such. Being able to name it and understand what is going on with you, in this case with imposter syndrome, it is pivotal to address the problem and to get out of it, okay? So observe your thoughts, observe your behavior, observe your emotions regarding these situations when you are feeling exposed or not worth it. And after you observe yourself, ask yourself these 3 questions. The first one is, what are you telling yourself? What is your narrative? What are you saying to yourself that is telling you you are not worth it? The second question is, what is your reaction with others or to others when they acknowledge or voice your qualities and your achievements? What is your reaction? How do you react? And the third one is, what do you think and feel when you feel exposed? How do you manage that? Observe yourself. It's not a good or bad thing, but observe yourself. Then you can register, and then you can understand your behavior regarding this imposter syndrome. Okay, so identify it, recognize it as an imposter syndrome. That's the first step. The second suggestion or tip is realizing that you are not alone. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially solo entrepreneurs, are very, very exposed to imposter syndrome, because it is a position of vulnerability, of a lot of stress, even if you may, an emotional roller coaster. So that in that fragile state, sometimes we are more susceptible to experience imposter syndrome. Definitely, you are not the only one. So don't feel alone. And by not feeling that alone, it is easier to accept it and to deal with it. Okay, so number 2, you are not alone. Number 3, perfectionism doesn't exist. Perfectionism is an abstract concept. It is not measurable, and it varies depending on gender, culture, age, country, etc., etc. If you want to do something perfect or to be someone perfect, you want to be something or someone that doesn't exist. So perfectionism, it is also a sign of, like obsessive perfectionism, it is a sign of imposter syndrome. So bear in mind that doesn't exist. It's not measurable. You can't measure perfection. If you feel like it is a pattern for you to seek and to engage in perfectionism or perfectionist behaviors, and if you feel that this perfectionism is holding you back or triggering imposter syndrome or insecurity, identify these moments. Search for patterns, for the thoughts that you are thinking and the emotions that you're feeling and the behaviors that you're doing. What actions are you doing? In regard of perfectionism, identify these patterns. So when you spot yourself in this perfectionism wheel, you can get out of it easier. If you don't get it, if you don't identify it as a perfectionism trap or perfection trap, then it's more difficult to get out of it. Number 4, self-acceptance and self-acknowledgement. First of all, self-acceptance. Accepting that you are not perfect, that not everything you do is going to be perfect. Again, what is perfect anyway? See, number 3. And there are no such things as failures, but learning, improving, and recognize and validate your accomplishments and celebrate your failures as a path to improvement and to get better and to learn. How can we do that? Have a list of achievements. Make a list of achievements. How? I'm sure you already have heard about the 3 things that you're grateful for every day. So doing this and another list with your achievements. That means everything you accomplished today. By the end of the day, make a list of everything that you accomplished. And there are no such things as little accomplishments. If you cooked something and it was nice, if you repaired something, if you did something for yourself that brought you joy, all those are achievements. It's not only, of course, the professional side, but everything that you accomplished that day are achievements. Make a list of it and then read the list, and you will see that sometimes we don't put attention on our achievements, or we put more attention on our failures. So by doing this, you are shifting your attention to your achievements. And if you train it and if you do it every day, you are going to feel better and more motivated and more self-secure and self-confident. Okay? And number 5, and this is a very, very, very powerful one. Accept compliments. I know this is difficult. This is a big issue among my clients. All my clients are women, high achievers, very intelligent and skilled and driven. And most of them have a hard time dealing or accepting compliments because they deal with imposter syndrome, or because they are not trained to do it this way, or they are not used to get compliments, etc. It doesn't matter the reason, they reject or they run away from compliments. And that's a big mistake for 2 reasons. The first one is because really important for your self-esteem. It is external acknowledgement of your goals achieved or your reached goals and your effort and your motivation. And the second thing is that people complimenting you, they are being sincere. And you rejecting politely, but rejecting their compliment, rejecting in a way what they are thinking of you. It can be disrespectful even, because you are not accepting some perception from the other person. There is a very big difference between bragging and acknowledging something that others are saying about you. Please take note of it and accept it. How? Train your acceptance by saying thank you or that's very kind of you. Train it like a reflex, like an automatic reaction. Thank you, that's very kind. At the beginning, it might feel false or fake, but when you are getting used to it, you will realize how good it is and how beautiful it is to get compliments and to see what others see about yourself helps you to see it yourself. But accepting it is the key. If you reject it or think it's a lie or it's too much, it's not going to help you in your path to go out of imposter syndrome. Bonus track. Last but not least, talk to a professional. Recognizing you need help is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it's a sign of bravery and courage. So asking for help is the first step to healing and to take the reins and to manage what is going on with you. Okay, so talk to a professional. Seek for someone who has experience dealing with these kinds of problems. And please remember there are professionals like me who are trained to deal with this. So you are not alone. Okay? Remember, please remember, never forget, you are worth it, you are capable, you are a freaking badass for doing what you're doing, for being an entrepreneur, for putting yourself out there, for being a business person, a businesswoman, a businessman. So tell yourself that, please. Imposter syndrome is something that you can control, you can deal, and you can address it. But never forget how amazing and capable and worth you are. Okay? And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this video was helpful for you. And if you have any questions, insights, or comments, you can do it here below. I'm Gabriela KNOWS, licensed psychologist, and see you in the next video. Ciao.